car's performance is looking strong compared to our rivals at the moment. Check it out, and we'll review it in more detail later.
I don't believe it. I'm speechless. Chris is actually happy at the start of an F1 2017 career mode video of ours. This is groundbreaking stuff, guys. What's going on? Welcome back to episode number 37 for the USA Grand Prix of my F1 2017 career mode season 2. And well, we kick things off with looking at the development comparison chart, and you can see clearly that huge double upgrade jump we did last time out at the Japanese Grand Prix. Be sure to go check that one out before you see this one, by the way. Episode number 36. You can see that leap and bound we took towards the Force India team, and we're just about literally a pixel underneath them on the graph there. Pretty much, I would say, level, I would say, if you balance everything out, really. And it's left Chris happy for once. Obviously, we've had 3 different times, I think, over the course of our Renault career in Season 2 here, where he's come to us being a little bit upset about where we are, R&D-wise. So that's the first time we've seen the cutscene, actually, ever, because I don't think we even saw it in the Toro Rosso days, of Chris being, you know, jolly. Well, jolly's maybe a push, but somewhat happy, really, and nearly cracked a smile at the end there, you would have seen. So, yeah, all good stuff. So we're going to take that momentum forward, hopefully, into the USA Grand Prix. We kick things off here, obviously, with the practice programs, going through those programs as I've been talking, with the usual track acclimatization and everything else that goes with it. Obviously, the Japanese Grand Prix had an excellent result, so hopefully we can try and match that here at the USA Grand Prix. You can see really, really wearing out the parts that we've got. Of course, we do have a whole 5th column, but I'm trying to keep them as fresh as possible, because towards the end of this season, we can hopefully gain quite a bit on the AI cars if they've got some warm parts. So I really did wear out the engine parts to the point where a few of them are getting towards the critical stage where we pretty much can't even use them in practice then from the next episode, because they just they don't have the speed anymore to really even complete the delta times of, say, the fuel saving or the tire management practice program. So we move on then swiftly into qualifying. You can see overcast conditions at the moment. It's going to stay like that for the entirety of qualifying here, and it was a case of Q1 especially just kind of getting used to the car again, getting used to the track, and Hulkenberg initially does hold us up a tad. You can see he does let me through, which I was a little bit surprised about, because he was some way ahead of us, but then on the straight looks like he kind of just lifted, his AI just lifted off and let us through there. So although it wasn't too much of a hold up, we still do end up doing a second flying lap here in Q1, as we have done a few times here, but more so for me, it was actually needed just to get used to the game again, because I've actually been away from home for a few days, guys. So the last few episodes you've seen have actually all been pre-recorded about 4 days in advance. So coming back to the F1 game is always a little bit tricky when you've not raced on your racing wheel for about 4 days or so. So really just getting used to the game once again. But thankfully, by the end of the session, we do get through to Q1, as well as our teammate Nico Hulkenberg. So that's all fine and dandy. We're going to go straight into Q2. At the moment, it looks like the 2 Finns looking very, very strong indeed. But just like Q1, except the other way around, we start our flying lap, and we've got a car now that's going to hinder our progress. This time it's Bottas who's behind us, but he actually goes to overtake us into turn 1 on our flying lap here. So this really puts us off, gets us off into the curbing. We've already lost about half a second just there in turn 1. So I do end up actually just finishing the lap just for the sake of, I may as well see what it gets me, because I didn't know truly how much time I was going to lose there. We did gain a bit on slipstream with Bottas down the main straight actually, but in hindsight really I maybe should have just aborted that lap. We go into our second flying lap of the session, and you can see, just look at the top right on the delta time just through turn 1. We've just gained so much time there, so that was really unfortunate timing, and something maybe I could have just looked at on the minimap. I didn't really see and could have predicted that Bottas was going to be that close. I mean, in the end, it won't hinder us too much, apart from the fact that we're going to use 2 sets of Ultra Softs in this Q2 session, which normally you don't want to do. Q1, obviously, we got away with using our one and only set in Q1 twice over, basically, because we're not going to ever use that set again. And so we do make it into the top 10, just about ahead of Carlos Sainz, our old teammate. We knock out our current teammate, Nico Hulkenberg, actually, who was initially in the top 10 before we set our second flying lap. So that was very unfortunate for him and the team in hindsight then, but we're going to have to just fly the flag solo for Renault. Starting our flying lap in Q3, you saw in the exit of turn 1, a little bit iffy on the traction, but generally through sector 1, then gaining back the time in the S section, being so committed there through the final corner, then across the line, and it is going to be best of the rest for us, P7. So that's kind of the best we could ever hope for, really, to be honest. You know, just behind the 2 Red Bull cars, Ferrari, 2 Mercedes, and then Sebastian Vettel on pole position. But you can see the pace difference between myself and and then Daniel Ricciardo in 6th place there. But good to be ahead of Sergio Perez. Felipe Massa, obviously our main rival, who's been our rival for the entirety of this career mode season so far. We've had him since the beginning, I think, if I remember correctly. Actually, no, I lie. We had Grosjean at the very start, but we've had Massa twice now because we drew our rivalry, which was a little bit annoying, I'm not going to lie, because it would have been nice to have someone different. It's gotten a little bit boring in a way to just have Massa as our rival, but there you go. But we beat one Force India, one Williams car, and one Toro Rosso, so can't complain too much there being in P7. So we'll just have to see how we do in the race. Of course, in Season 1, it was a bit of a tricky Grand Prix with full intermediates. I believe it's going to be all dry for us on Sunday, so this may be a very different Grand Prix to what we experienced in Season 1, which I'm looking forward to, so let's get into it.
I, for one, can't wait to get started. And there's another very excited little chap here beside me as well. It's our very own Anthony Davidson. Great to see you again today.
Thanks for that, Crofty. And I'm really anxious to get underway here. We've got all the makings of a great race today. World champions in competitive cars, lots of drivers on form, and I suspect a few strategists on the pit wall looking to try something a bit different and maybe jump their cars up the order.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Kimi Raikkonen's perfect lap yesterday sees him start from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have a Renault, Perez, Romain Grosjean, and Hamilton, Magnussen, Ocon, Stroll, and Fernando Alonso, Ericsson, Van Dorn, Pascal Wehrlein, and Kvyat, Hülkenberg, Vettel, Carlos Sainz, and Valtteri Bottas. Massa and Daniel Ricciardo rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So, we've got a bit of a surprising start to this USA Grand Prix. We're actually lining up in P3 now on the second row due to a humongous amount of engine penalties for everyone on this grid. We've got Daniel Ricciardo starting in last place. Unfortunately, our teammate has also been hit with grid penalties. Someone that hasn't, though, unfortunately for us, is Max Verstappen, who's now elevated to P2. And the pole sitter, Sebastian Vettel's not even on pole anymore. It's his teammate, Kimi Raikkonen. So, Raikkonen getting some more luck in this career mode. It's not like he really needed it, but we go to 5 red lights now from P3 on the grid for the USA Grand Prix. 5 lights are out and we're underway here, and it's a really poor start for us in second and third gear. Lots of wheel spin, a fantastic start though for Sergio Perez, who's going to get it maybe into P2, into turn 1. He'll go side by side with Verstappen. We've got one of the Mercedes cars, Hamilton, trying to bully us past us on the right hand side, and he's still got Perez fighting hard against Verstappen to the S section. Verstappen's still trying to keep it in there. There's been some contact and Verstappen's been sent wide, and he's lost the position to us. We're up into P3 once again to get back into our grid position. Meanwhile, you can see up ahead Raikkonen waltzing away in the lead of this race. But what a crazy start to this entire thing, with so many people way down the order at that start on the grid. And then you've got behind us on the same lap 1 this is, Hamilton down the end of the main straight, down the inside of Max Verstappen. He's up into P4 now, and that's great for us, remember, because of course, yes, we've got one Red Bull car effectively out of things, perhaps, where Daniel Ricciardo, who I believe still in last place there, just looking at the background shot of that replay camera. But we've got Max Verstappen, who did start P2. He's now down 3 positions, so that's a really good sign for us that he's going backwards in this race. And Sergio Perez doing fantastically in P2 there, and he's actually pulling away from us. And it may not just be Perez and a bit of luck for him, because Esteban Ocon then on the next lap is going to overtake Verstappen as well. So the Force India cars really going well at the start of this race. Of course, though, they're both on ultra softs. Verstappen, you can clearly see on the super soft tyres, the Red Bull tyre. Although as we move later on then onto the next lap 3 this will be, then we've got Grosjean trying to go around the outside, although Verstappen puts up a bit more of a fight against him. You can see the hand of anger went up in the cockpit as Verstappen gets a little bit argy-bargy with Grosjean and manages to keep ahead of him for now. But you can see Verstappen there already with a gap then to the next car, so he's losing a bit of time and pace and just not got the composure at the moment. As we move into lap 4, our fellow Brit Lewis Hamilton overtaking us down the inside of the back straight there. He's had DRS open down that main straight, and obviously the Mercedes car is going to have the straight line advantage against our Renault, so there's no point putting up too much of a fight in the brake zone even, because it's only lap 4. I'm not going to be holding up the Mercedes for 24 more laps, so just playing it a bit more clever in terms of driving to where the car is rather than where I want to try and be, which would be pretty damn sweet if we get another podium here just like we did at the Japanese Grand Prix. But we move swiftly on then on towards lap 6. You think Hamilton then made a pit stop, so a little bit earlier than I would have thought he would have come come in there, but obviously Mercedes going maybe for a more aggressive undercut strategy, and it doesn't take us long to follow suit then at the end of that lap. Esteban Ocon unable to overtake us for then, just before we came to the pit stops, but now we'll see how it goes on the strategy. But he continues on along with Sergio Perez, and you can see there Valtteri Bottas also coming in. So the Force India's maybe trying to stretch their ultra softs a little bit more, but the Mercedes and Renault team at least keeping it a bit more aggressive here. You can see thankfully no qualms in the pit stop in terms of staying ahead of Bottas there. It would have been very annoying if Bottas was able to jump us. As we come out of the pit, you can see Hamilton there making a move on one of the Sauber cars. I think that is of Pascal Wehrlein there. And in terms of the time lost to Hamilton in the pit stops, it doesn't seem like too much, to be honest. So I think we've done okay there in terms of going on for one more lap compared to Lewis. And then we move on to the same lap on our out lap then, closing up to Wehrlein. You can see a ridiculous amount of speed we've caught that Sauber with. The Sauber obviously with old Ferrari engines, and they just have no, I think I'm bad with the Renault engine at the start of this season, and in the Toro Rosso, the Sauber and the McLarens just really don't have any chance here, and they really haven't done too much so far with 37 episodes gone to upgrade their power, it seems like. As you can see, Hamilton goes down the inside of Van Dorn. Of course, though, the McLaren car did have that kind of funny glitch in the career mode where the engine upgrades didn't really make much of a difference. But anyway, that's besides the point. They're still woefully slow, and as we close up to Stoffel Van Dorn, we've got the downforce compared to the McLaren as well, as we're in the S section. Obviously, this is all about downforce and the chassis performance, and we go around the outside of Van Dorn, side by side into a very tricky section as we climb uphill, off camber somewhat into the right-hander, but we managed to pull it around the outside, and Van Dorn naturally just has to give up the position as the corner tightens up there, and we're up the order and still keeping up and pace with Hamilton for now. And he's effectively a yardstick, really, because if we can kind of basically see him in our sights in the same sort of distance visually, I feel like that means we're going at a very good pace. I think that makes some sense, I think. So we close up then to the second Sauber of the afternoon, down the inside very easily of Marcus Ericsson. This will be hitting the apex perfectly, and we're up into P14 then. So obviously there definitely are a lot of people that are going longer. You would imagine with grid penalties there would have been people trying to capitalise on maybe a more conservative pit stop strategy, which is unfortunate for us because, again, in hindsight, if I knew that I was going to get P3 at the start of this race, I would have maybe qualified in Q2 on super soft tyres. But unfortunately, that, as I said, that's hindsight, and that's the really tricky part about that. And also, unfortunately, in the game, you can't go back into, or you can't go back, obviously, once you've gone to the grid and kind of change anything up, and obviously park firm air conditions. So I got a little bit screwed over in that sense, but maybe that's one to think about. We've only got 4 episodes left in this season, including this one. Maybe now is the time I start thinking about that potentially I think we may be seeing AI having grid penalties for the rest of this season. So maybe that's something I need to do. Every single Q2 session, I qualify on the softer compound tyre, potentially. But anyway, as I was talking about all of that, Vettel overtook us very easily, just like with Hamilton. No point putting up a fight because Vettel was going to finish ahead of us anyway, either way, at the very end of this Grand Prix. We've got too many laps to go to think about even holding up these faster cars. So we just continue on with our race. And so we move on to lap 13, where Valtteri Bottas is going to steam past us, and pretty much a carbon copy move of the one that Hamilton and Vettel pretty much made on us down the inside there with DRS. Got the overspeed, and again, not too much point putting up too much of a fight. And also, because we can see on the top left, Verstappen is on soft tyres, and Verstappen started on super soft, suggesting that Verstappen is trying a one-stop here. So in reality, letting the 2 Mercedes cars and Ferrari cars go without too much of a fight is going to maybe just help me out, because otherwise Verstappen may have an easy ride to a podium potentially, whereas now I have let the Mercedes and Ferrari car of Vettel at least let loose to maybe try and overtake Verstappen. But for now, Verstappen would end up in a net position that could see him ahead of those 3 cars. So I think as a whole, that's going to be the best strategy to try and push him down the order, because it's going to be a tall order, I'm going to have to admit here, to be ahead of Verstappen after this, because that's an entire pit stop that I've lost to him. We're committed to the 2 stop because, annoyingly, just because we start on the ultra softs, I have to go to the 2 stop. I mean, the 2 Force Indy cars, I think, or at least Perez maybe, is trying a 1 stop with ultra softs, but I just don't have the tyre wear there to do it. Around USA, my tyre wear is very, very poor, it looks like, compared to the AI, so just not going to work. But anyway, either way, we move on to lap 18, down the inside of Nico Hülkenberg. Very aggressive dive bomb move there, but actually, obviously, he's our teammate. He's on a different strategy. He's on soft tyres, so even he's doing the 1 stop. So thankfully, Nico doesn't put up too much of a fight against us. So, but either way, still try to make that as a kind of more of an aggressive move as I could, as I wasn't sure if he was going to let me go there down the inside of that brake zone. So I went darting move to the inside, and it all worked out. Now we can try and close up on Lance Stroll with a bit of clean air, although we got yellow flags a little bit here for slow car of Danica Fiat there, so he gained one free position there. I don't know what on earth is going on, but he doesn't even come into the pits there, so he's going very slow indeed. And now you can see Marcus Ericsson out of this Grand Prix, so not too sure what's gone on there. Maybe there was some contact between the Toro Rosso and the Sauber at some point in the lap, but we close up to Lance Stroll now. You can see in the stadium section effectively on the double left-hander here, but just not able to make anything work so far. Obviously, it's very tricky with this section. A lot of dirty air comes to mind from the exit of these cars, so we're going to have to maybe just be a bit patient and make a move into turn one potentially as we close up through the triple right-hander, then through the second last corner towards the last corner, getting quite a bit in the middle of the apex, then a lot of time in the brake zone for the final corner there, right up his gearbox, then open DRS. You can see on the bottom right, we don't have too much fuel to play with, but I go into rich mix, and we're going to have to use that to our advantage. We're going to make a diving move now to the inside there, very aggressive, wasting no time at all, kiss the apex, and we're up into P9, back down to standard, and now it's a case of hopefully using all that fuel saving, practice we put into play for the, the practice program's gone by to maybe save some fuel, but keeping in standard mixture, because you can see now P8 is Daniel Ricciardo. As we come up to lap Danica Fiat now, he's still stupidly trundling around from whatever incident he had, but P8 is Daniel Ricciardo, so both Red Bulls. Ricciardo was last on this grid, and he's done a one-stop to be ahead of us in this race, which really just shows how much I've actually been screwed over by the fact I qualified on Ultra Softs, I should say, in Q2, and did not know there was going to be grid penalties. So let me know what you think in the comments below, but I think a good strategy now for the rest of this season is to qualify on the second softest available compound now, because I think there's going to be grid penalties for the rest of this season for the AI, so I think that's going to be a good strategy for us. Although, do let me know, because, there may be some other thoughts from you guys, but that makes sense to me. But as we move later into this Grand Prix, it's the other Renault car of Nico Hulkenberg that makes an easy move down the inside Lance Stroll in the same exact place that I made it. And then as we move on, looking later to other cars, this is Lewis Hamilton now overtaking Max Verstappen to get up into P3, and this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Hamilton overtaking Verstappen, and Verstappen would have been in P3 there, but because I didn't put up too much of a fight, Hamilton's there to overtake him. Obviously, he could have been up there anyway if I put up a fight, but what's that any use to me? And then as we move into the hairpin, we've got Perez bottling it with a brake issue like we've seen him so many times before. I think that's the third time now this season that he's had a brake issue. So Perez down the order now into what is, I think that's P4, and then it'll be eventually P5 as Sebastian Vettel makes a move to the inside of turn one. They're all on soft tyres now, but obviously Vettel, Hamilton are on fresher soft tyres compared to Perez and Verstappen. And then there goes Vettel then on the next lap, I think that is, to make the move on Max Verstappen. So that's absolutely great stuff for me to see, because it's looking very unlikely that I'm going to be able to maybe even finish ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, let alone Max Verstappen. So with both those cars bumping Verstappen down 2 places, that's just going to reduce the damage Red Bull could have done to Renault, myself and Nico as a team this afternoon, which is really quite unfortunate and very frustrating. This car seems to just yo-yo in terms of performance. We were so strong at Japan, both me and Nico beating one of the Red Bull cars. I beat Ricciardo, he beat Verstappen last time out, and now we started P3 and we're struggling to just even get P7 I think in this race, trying to overtake Ricciardo on the last lap of the Grand Prix. We're going to have to make the Ricciardo dive bomb on Daniel Ricciardo. We've been pushing since lap 22. It's lap 28 now. We go side by side in the third sector to keep ahead of the Australian. For now, he squeezes out, but he's going a little bit slow, and he's gone a little bit wayward. We do a bit of a switchback move on him, and we change our mind in terms of where we're going for the racing line. We dive it down the inside there, and we've got him in the last sector of the last lap of the race to get ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. And just kind of basically dampen that damage that Red Bull have done to us this afternoon. And we're going to come through then for P7 as it will be on the road. Sergio Perez does pretty damn well still to get P6 from what was a very audacious one-stop on ultra softs and then soft tyres. But equally a frustrating Grand Prix, as I was just mentioning there. Our car is just so on a knife edge for performance. And then Kimi Raikkonen gets very lucky once again to win a race in this season, the USA Grand Prix. He wasn't even on pole position. He was 4th place on the grid, on the official grid, and then all those grid penalties allowed him to get pole position, and then pretty much he had a very easy afternoon, which It's a little bit frustrating to watch as just a kind of viewer of the career mode because, you know, you guys have been saying in the comments that Raikkonen's been getting very lucky and for some reason, I don't know why, but the game codemasters have decided to code Raikkonen's AI to be a little bit better than Vettel's or, I don't know, get more luck. It just seems that way because Vettel's just been woeful compared to Raikkonen in many Grand Prix so far. I don't know what your experiences are, guys. Do let me know in the comments below, but I feel like that's the general consensus that Raikkonen's AI is a little bit too good compared to Vettel. But I mean, Vettel's still got a podium, to be fair to him. And Bottas, the man who is fighting Raikkonen in the championship, only came down in 5th place there. So that's pretty good for the for his championship hopes. You can see there, Raikkonen stretches his lead for the lead of this championship. Remember, Lewis Hamilton is the reigning world champion. So with only 3 races to go, it's looking like we may actually get a different driver's world champion and also maybe a different team champion because Scuderia Ferrari so far are still ahead of Mercedes after getting into the lead a few races ago, I believe it was. But you can see there, damage has been done from Red Bull to Renault. We've lost that kind of, you know, we only had, I think it was 4 points or 3 points to Red Bull last time out after the Japanese Grand Prix. That points gap's now been extended, but you get what I mean from earlier. We've, you know, done a huge damage limitation by having Hamilton and Vettel overtake Verstappen. We've overtaken Ricciardo there to limit a bit of damage there. And with 3 races to go now, and with this potential new strategy that I may try of qualifying on the second softest tyre, because I think a lot of AI cars are going to get grid penalties now, I'm really having to pray now we can do this. This is going to be close. This is not a guarantee that we're going to overtake Red Bull in the Constructors. Let me know if you do think we can do it, but with 3 races to go, the pressure's on. The pressure's on, so we're going to have to really concentrate and work at it, but I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully, guys, you have enjoyed the episode. Smash the like button if you did. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you haven't, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, guys. I just got to say, you know, as I said, I had a few days off. I was actually away for a few days, so the last few have been pre-recorded, but I've still been keeping up with the comments and the kind of support in the episodes, and it's been absolutely insane, guys. So thank you so much for the support still on episode number flipping 37. We've been racing through the career mode, and the support has been strong as ever. So thank you so much for that. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.